So if you are open to change, so that would make really difference of rethinking and like not saying asserting yourself every time, either in a discussion or anything. So somebody's idea, point of view could be, I mean, when you see it, maybe you were unaware of it, so it could be better. You're
Because
muted.
what's the purpose of hiring people and then, okay, so I hire you for your expertise to this person or what they bring to the table, but then when everybody at the table, everybody got to just listen to me, how I feel about it.
Yeah, just
You know what I'm
Yasmin
saying?
was
Be
saying,
like, what
my
about
way
my
or the
expertise
highway.
over?
Yeah,
Yeah,
just Yasmin was in my way or the highway.
exactly.
Okay, Yasmin, mic to you.
Um, one of the quotes that or an idea that was really interesting to me was like he said you need a challenge network more than a support network. And I
Mm-hmm.
never heard of that term challenge network before.
Mm-hmm.
So like I have heard of like, you need people that are gonna like question you and push you to be harder, but just that term challenge network, that was a new term for me.
It's a good,
And
I
so
mean,
and I
like,
was trying to think, well, like, how could my support network turn into my challenge network? Like, do I
Could it be the
necessarily
same?
no,
Yeah.
they
need
Could
won't.
it
to,
be
yeah,
They
on
won't.
need to go find some more people because I'm already comfortable enough with my support network that I can
Yeah.
share my vulnerabilities and where I feel like I'm weak or ask for help. And so like I would feel already more comfortable getting them to challenge me. So maybe I would just need to just offer them or give them the invitation. I want you to challenge me. Ask me some hard questions to grow and push me and push my ideas. So I thought that
Could the
was
It's
same person be both? Could the same person be both a challenge for you and a support for you? Like that
yeah, that's
person
that's
that
kind
you
of what I was
it
thinking.
can
But
be, but it
maybe
would
I
be
would
very
just need
hard
to
for that
ask
person.
them to
Let's go ahead.
to step up in that role or give them permission because sometimes you don't want people to challenge you.
Yeah.
mm,
Certain
You
people you
know.
don't want to ask the critical or like a cross questioning you and
Hmm.
challenging your whatever your decision, your ideology, or your own philosophy, or your way of thinking, or whatever you're doing. So somebody, those close circle friends, they can tell you, no, this is wrong, or this is right, or this is wrong. So you accept from them in a way that, so most of the people, it matters to them that how it is said that rather than what it is said. So
mm.
if it is said in a way, they sometimes take the bitter pill even comfortably. But if it is said even the slightest thing in a more hard way, so
Hmm.
they cannot even swallow a sweet pill.
And
Yeah.
sometimes you can say something in a mean way, but I think sometimes when people say that, but it wasn't what you say is how you say it.
You say
Sometimes they
it.
just not ready to hear it. And you could write it in a letter, you could put it in an
Uh,
email, and they still ain't gonna like the way they don't want to confront whatever it is, like the challenge thing.
yeah,
Because
according to
they may not like your tone because they don't like that you being the challenge network person instead of their
yeah,
support. So
yeah,
instead of, they want you to just say, yeah, okay, okay, instead of saying, no, you're wrong, that's not right, or whatever. They don't want that. So they may say, well, you was right, but I ain't like the way you said it.
this is what we were mentioning when we were talking about just a while ago, that according to my understanding, this is where your human being as a body comes in as an obstacle, as something which basically stops you or like tries to give you an general impression without logically looking at it. This is what happens with your belief system, and because whatever you like, that's where you like it. Once you step into the world where you don't like it, something, so you just start rejecting things altogether. So even whatever your belief in your religion, whatever in your daily activities, so probably once you start liking it, and that's where your body comes in, your chemicals in your body, in your brain, that those amygdala or those things, they come into. action, and they stop you from being like logical rather than being emotional or like reciprocal or responding or reactive to that one. Yes, Jasmine, you have opened up mic. You want to say something?
One more
Sure,
quote
sure, go
or
ahead.
that came to mind is that in a learning culture, people are rewarded for thinking again, not just thinking fast. And so I really try to be cognizant of that as a teacher, like not just always praising the person that has the right answer the fastest,
Mm.
but praising the effort that all the students are putting in to to get
Yeah,
to do the work. So praising the process and not just necessarily the result.
yeah, sometimes you get it or sometimes you don't. Let's listen to Ray, what he has to say.
I'm not sure what we were supposed to finish the book this time around.
No, no, 10 chapters.
Oh,
Third part, part three, 10 chapters. The like next one would be conclusion and some other kind of things and references,
yeah,
things
I
they have.
finished it. I'm
Oh,
finished.
okay.
Um, I wasn't sure. I was like, hold on a second, because
I
those they
finished it. I finished it too because it wasn't just that
yeah,
much more
it
to
was just
go.
like I was like, I might as well just dump it too. Um,
Yeah.
so I struggle with some of the stuff that he gave because, and I think I mentioned this the first week. It's very idealistic. So you got to remember, he's a college professor. And the problem with college professor is that they see things through a very idealistic lens. Um, and they don't necessarily see things through real life, real time situations. To consume this book, you have to be self aware. This book requires somebody who's self actualized. If you're not self actualized, it's going to be very difficult to adhere to a lot of the ideas in this book because you're probably living in a world where you do have to make the quick decision. And the quick decision will yield you the best reward, right? Um, if let's face it, if you are out with a group of friends, and some of the friends and don't know, and you're a single guy, right? You're gonna be awarded for being witty, quick, decisive. You know, these are the things that we reward. Look at our interview process. You can't say in an interview, let me get back with you and think that through, and I'll email an answer to you tomorrow. You just can't do that. Companies, organizations want people who can think quick on their feet. In fact, that's typically on their job description. We need somebody who can, who have discernment, can think quick on their feet, because that's ultimately how real life works. If you are a counter agent at Spirit, Spirit gets a bad rep. Or let's say, and that's not pick on Spirit, but any airline agency, and you have delays, right? Or you have a situation, and people are going to be upset. The last thing those people want is Adam Grant Garrett's going, guys, let's rethink. And no, they need the politician, right? And he even says this. I don't want to spoil the book for the people who didn't finish, but they need that politician. They need that preacher. They need that prosecutor, right? So if you are, I always like to say, if you are Bill Gates, or if you're Linda Gates, or if you're Elon Musk, you have the time to do these things. If you're Ray Roberts, trying to pay it bills every month and put food on the table for his kids, and like, I don't have the room. When I go for and I'm trying to convince a school to hire me or to use my services, they are looking for answers right away. And sometimes, And here's the problem. The reason why I don't get as many gigs as I used to is because I have matured. I am saying, hey, look, I don't have the answer to this. Whereas the old Ray would give you an answer, and it would be smoke out of my, you know what, right? And people loved it. People don't like the 50-year-old Ray because the 50-year-old Ray is more, let me think about this. Let's slow down a bit. Um,
Or
let's
measured.
think this, and people don't like that Ray. People like the Ray that's like hard charger. I got the answer to this. Let's move forward. I know it all. And as a result, I don't get as many contracts because the guy who's coming behind me, who is saying, "Yeah, I got the answers," he's getting the contracts or she's getting the contracts, and that's just simply the reality. So I don't disagree with anything he's saying. I would say that this is for a person who's in a position to that's in a position that they are self-actualized, right? That they are comfortable, that they're a boss. People wait for them and they're not waiting for people, right? This book works well. If you are trying to make it happen, I think there's things that you can learn in this book, and it definitely will make you a better person. And I do believe you need to rethink. I also believe that there's some things that, and I think I said this last week, that you need to be convicted on. And it's not many things, but there needs to be one or two things that you stand strong with. Martin Luther King said, if a man has nothing to die for, he has nothing to live for, right? So, and it shouldn't be a lot of things. It shouldn't be a list of 20. It should be one or two or three things that you're willing to stand your ground because you're convicted about those things. The other thing, when you talk about the Challenge Network, again, I'm trying to draw from my military experience. And here's what I will say, because I think it works best. Your Challenge Network has to be your equals. There have to be equals. There have to be people who don't envy you. And your co-workers are not necessarily your equals. So when you talk about in a work situation, you have co-workers that are envious of you and they don't show their hand because they are the preacher, they're the politician, they're the prosecutor, right? They're not showing their hand. And if you expect them to, a lot of us are sleeping with the enemy. Let me say that way in our lives. That we expect things from people and they they have the potential to give it to us, but they don't because they're envious of us. And unfortunately, and I said this months ago, I had this revelation that, even our own spouses or parents and siblings don't want to see us do well. So sometimes we're asking people who, and they don't, and that doesn't mean they want to see us do bad. That doesn't mean they want to see us do bad, but they don't want to see us do too well.
Yeah, that's in the Quran to some extent.
Yeah. Right. And that's just a part of just life. And then I think he doesn't deal with that aspect that there are the wicked witch there are the good witch of the north or whatever she was from, but there are the wicked witch of the east. And you do have to be able to we do travel the yellow brick road, right? And it's hard to find a scarecrow. It's hard to find a tin man. It's hard to find a lion, right? Who's gonna be there for you. But even the scarecrow, the tin man, and the lion, they were with Dorothy. Why? Because they wanted something and they needed something from her. If they didn't need if the scarecrow didn't need a brain and the tin man didn't need a heart and the lion didn't need courage, would have rocked with Dorothy like that? And would have Dorothy would have rocked with them like that if she wasn't lost? That's the reality of our hubris and the human condition. And these are things that we have to have discernment when we start talking about challenge networks, because that same person that you could be in a team meeting with, like, yeah, we need to go, I want you to do well on this project, is this moment you walk out of that building is stabbing you in the back or poking jabs at you because he wants your position, or he's not so happy that you got the raise or you got this accolade. And this is a reality. And I'm not saying that we should allow that person or those people to dictate our present. But the reality is perception is reality. And I will stand firm that perception is reality, because someone's perception of you can change your reality, and sometimes we don't even know it. What we say in the hood? You're missing something, and the person who stole it is helping you look for it. Like, that happens.
But that's why everybody can't be a part of your challenge network.
Exactly.
It has to be,
So you have
somebody that you trust. And
you
like
have
you
to be
said, that's your equal.
self-actualized and have discernment. And he doesn't talk about discernment in this book, but you have to have discernment to realize who should be in your challenge network.
And wouldn't that person, the person in your challenge network may not be nobody that you just go out and pick and say, hey, I like Ray. I'm gonna ask him to be in my challenge network. It could be somebody that automatically we have that vibe going between each other. And I realized, you know what, they wanted the best for me when they advised me something different as opposed to the path that I was going on or choices I was gonna make. Then you wind up respecting that person, and they wind up respecting you for the choices that you make, but not necessarily that you picked them to be a challenge to you, but they were helpful.
I would say it this way, Bridget. I would say that the people that you dislike and that you don't really like might be your best people in your challenge network. And they might be unwillful participants in your challenge network. So I would say you don't even have to advertise that they're in your challenge network. But because you know they're going to throw that jab, you know they're going to find that flaw, be around them.
That's a straight man's way of thinking. That was just a straight man's way of thinking. Like,
Yeah,
I'm just
this is
gonna go
how
to this person because I know they're gonna challenge me.
Right.
this
Be
this is
around
how
them.
So mine's will be incidental.
yeah.
It's like
That's how
I
many people don't
ain't
like the
going the
straight
wrong
people
way.
that were talking straight and without caring that it is hurting someone or not. So that's why
Yeah.
many people won't make friends with them.
But don't get me wrong. The book is positive. I like the book. It's
Yeah.
great for human performance technology, all that stuff. Rah rah rah. Get people riled up. It's good, but you know you got to be self-actualized. And I think we don't talk a lot about being self-actualized. A lot of us are stuck when we when we become successful, we're stuck in esteem. And we have hubris. And this is why
Yeah.
this is why the guy said to you, Bridget, you come here to listen to me.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right? How many people are in little small positions? They could be the manager, the night manager at the hotel. But right, for that 8 hours, they are a boss, right? You can't tell them nothing, right? Because that's the world, that's what we reward. And that person's probably going to get rewarded and become the general manager and the regional manager for having that level of hubris, as long as he can control it enough where he's not, disrespecting people and things like that. But if he can control it enough, I mean, how many of us had bosses that weren't the friendliest
Or
or
the
the most
small.
motivating, right? That person, what's that book they used to, about 30 years ago, that woman wrote, Only Bitches Get the Corner Office? Remember that book? You never read that book? No, it's a famous book. I don't
I've
know
never even heard of that one.
yeah, it's old now. It's about 30 years old. It was a lady wrote the book, and it's called Only
25,
Bitches
you
Get the
mean?
Corner Office. And it was
I
talking
heard
about
the book.
how women
Yeah.
don't have to be submissive and don't have to play this kind of submissive role in corporate America, that you gotta go out there and go for it, right? Um,
Now that you're
But
saying that, I've seen
but
that portrayed like in certain movies and things like that along the way. and maybe that was the basis to it based on like from the book, but I've never heard of the book per se, but I understand that concept when people say like, I come to, like, cause I had a manager, Miss Moore, oh my goodness, Miss Moore, nobody liked Miss Moore, but Miss Moore had her stuff together. She knew like everything she was doing, blah, 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 blah. And later on when she went to retire, she was like, she had to be that way because she came through the ranks like in the 60s and the 70s. And she was like, they wasn't really giving women no jobs, and you had to like earn your spot and you had to earn your respect. So she had to be tough. And then and because of that, and because she knew what she was doing, she got labeled as being mean. You know, she wasn't there, she wasn't sleeping around with people, she just knew her job, you know. So yeah, that label could come
So
on there too for that.
I have one question to Ray. Like,
Yeah.
don't you think that when we are talking about like either in a job situation or wherever, you think that if those people are scared the way one would behave, that if they are telling the truth, that this is the thing that you need to fix in yourself, and then probably they are scared that they might have seen other people how they behave when they are told the truth or something, a reality. So then they are scared, or they are kind of conditioned to that kind of a reaction, and they would not tell you they won't tell you the exact truth or the thing that they should have shared with you, that something there is a flaw in there, or it could have been done in a better way. Don't you think our
Yeah.
reaction?
That's my comment about the book. Good book though, very good book, and I recommend that people read it. Definitely.
And the other book is Nice Girls Don't Get the Corner Office. So in short, you're
Yeah, I
saying
think that's the. I think
you
that's
get the corner office.
Okay, let's listen to Hina. She has joined after a long time.
Hi guys.
How are you?
Hold on a second.
It's a rare fish catch.
Uh, the I have I've joined, but I didn't read the book. But I thought I had time, so why not join and learn something nice about the new book? So
So
yeah,
nice to hear your voice again.
thanks. Yeah, I had a very bad accident, and I'm still recovering. So, but yeah, I'm here.
Sorry to hear that. Then the good
Yeah,
news is that you are here.
yeah, I am. So So how's the new book going? Yeah, I read bits and pieces and
It's a difficult book
feedback.
for so many people.
Yeah, I
It's
was
like you.
listening.
Yeah, I would say if I would have to put the whole books in one sentence, I would say this book puts us in a mirror room where all the walls and the ceiling and the floor, everything is mirrored. So you see your back, you see your front, you see your right, you see your left, you see your reflected image, you see your re-reflected image. So this is the kind of thing, the book. So those ugly parts you might not like to see, even this book would try and help you
Yeah, that's
expose it
quite
to you.
interesting. I just loved the way Bridget has explained. By the way, it wasn't 30 years ago. It's still the same. If a woman is being very straightforward, stern, she's always been rude. Oh, she's so rude. It's fine. I'm happy to be a rude person than something else. Yeah, it's always the same.
Well,
And
if
the problem
yeah,
is that most of us actually get bosses. We don't get the leaders. If you get a leader, then the life is so much easier, honestly. You don't even know and literally cruise through. So,
I mean, you won't get good teachers all your
Here,
life.
go
You
and
will
put your
get very
socks and
few of
shoes on.
them.
We're gonna get something to eat.
But that was good though, the difference between the boss and the leader. That
yeah.
makes yeah, a good
That
leader.
was one of my
Hmm.
most
Yeah,
favorite topic even when I was doing the degree. My most research and everything was on that. It's like why do people like to be bosses and not to be leaders where
yeah, because they've been trained to be the bosses, or they have
yes,
seen the bosses
exactly.
around.
Is
So
the
that's
soul
what,
a lot of it is from socio-economic background, if that
yeah,
makes
it's
sense.
inherited, social
Yes,
inheritance.
yes, a
Well, and also too,
cultural
I think people,
social.
I think people start off wanting to be leaders, but our hubris gets involved, And then we get our hubris confirmed because there's always a brown nose or several brown noses will go, yes, sir, yes, ma'am, yes, ma'am. And that feeds more into our hubris.
The problem is that yeah, I do understand. It's not only yourself, sometimes the environment around you, because I have seen people who are so like humble and they're nice people, but people don't take them seriously. It's like, ah, you know how they don't give you enough respect, basically, because just because you are a certain way or you are a leader, you're a humble person, you don't show off, you don't act in a certain way. I have seen that a lot with good people, to be honest.
And
And like,
also too, people will take advantage of you if you're not
Yeah,
stern.
yeah,
If you're not stern, people will take advantage of you.
100%.
I mean, like, as long as like you are able to resolve the conflict, and there is an art of putting the things or the kind of like argument in front of, like in a discussion. So it's not just like simply you put it forward and then everybody would accept it. It's kind of an art that how
It's
you
one thing is
present the
that the other thing
just
is
like
that you should
just like
learn
if
not to give it a damn. Really, that's what I do. Think whatever you want. I don't care.
well, this is the way
I like
this is
that.
how but anyway, I'm talking
But
I
I
was
think
thinking of
maturity brings that thing in. When I was young, I think no matter
but
how much I wanted to do this, things were affecting me. But when you get mature, you're like, whatever. And you just move on.
just like in your life, like sometimes you have kids around you and you want them to be doing good. And let's say you have a very intimate relation, like a mother or a sister or like somebody who is like very close relation, and you don't want something bad for them in that respect. I'm talking about not the respect that Ray was mentioning a while ago, but I'm talking about like you want good for them. But sometimes probably the skill set is missing that we are not trained parents. Nature just trains us and we see the parents around us. We see how we were parented, like how our parents were done. And we see some aunts and uncles and brothers, cousins, friends, and the way they behave with their. So this is how we behave with with our kids. So the skill set, definite. I always talk to Ray that being a parent is probably most important, but it's the least required. It requires the least amount of qualification to be a parent. Just get married and you get parent, or just have a relation and you become a parent. But you
No,
don't
you're
need to have
talking
a
about the title of being a parent, not a parent itself. The personality of a parent, the character of a parent is different than the title of a parent.
no, no, I'm talking about becoming a parent
Yeah,
and
just the
having a
title. Yeah, you
qualification.
can. Yeah,
Not title, a relationship, being a parent, being a mother, being a father.
I
Just have a kid and
disagree.
you would be.
No,
No,
I disagree.
I mean, what
Not
qualification
and
you
It's
need?
not
like
Do you need a
every.
PhD degree to become a mother?
it's like anybody
No,
could be a parent, but it may take a special kind of person to really be like a mother or a father or
Yeah, that's what I'm
exactly.
trying to
That's
say.
what my point is.
birth, like procreation can just base
We're
it.
we're in the woods now because I think Mr. Hassan's point is correct. As long as your body parts work, all right, and you have
Yeah,
some commitment to take care of your children, you're a parent. Now, you might not be the best, but we now enter the realm of subjectivity. What's a mother and what's a not,
yeah,
what's a good mother, what's a bad, that's
yeah,
very
that's
subjective.
very subjective.
Because I know, listen,
That's what I
I
said.
know,
That you get the
I
I
title of
know,
know
it,
some
you
hundred
get the
dollar
label of
parents.
it, but not the
listen,
character of it.
listen, no, listen.
I didn't understand it that way.
I know crackhead parents who are crackheads, and their children love them. They might come around once a month. They might come around every so often. They live with grandmama and auntie, and those kids, when their mama, daddy come around, high as a kite. Those kids, you can't tell those kids that's not the best mama in the world. So it's a
Yeah.
subjective thing, and I think Mr. Hassan is right. It is about relationships, and the way we may say, well, that's a bad parent or that's a good parent. It's one of those things where if the person's involved, they're a parent. Might not be good in
It's
your
subjective.
eyes.
Good parent, yeah, that thing is very
Yeah,
subjective
but
as
how do
well.
you quantify good parents? How do
That's
you
what I'm saying, is
quantify the good?
subjective.
Yeah. How do you you can't quantify that, right?
There's
You
no
can't.
scale.
Yeah.
There's no
Because I
scale.
know people who, like, I would say, man, your parents must have been great. Like, you guys are like, and they're like, my mom sucked. No, my dad sucked. You're like,
And I know
what?
some people that was parents when they were 12 and 13 years old and had no idea, and just by the grace of God, they
What?
had somebody else above them in their household that just was like, we got this, we're gonna do this. And they had
I
no idea what was going on the rest of high school. They just know that when they got home, they had a baby there.
We all are in teaching business, and we all know, we see that every single day, like especially high school, it's semester plays. You see them and it's like, oh my goodness, that kid could have been something else, only if things at house would be better. I
I
wouldn't even call
see.
it a home because, yeah, honestly,
see those
Like
people who are
we
good in terms of good, being good or being
some of the
successful,
some of
they
the
no,
didn't
it's
get a
just
good
not, it's not
parenthood.
only about that. Like, look,
some of the
I
So this is
best
they,
happen to work for Sun Department now. So that's a totally different area of understanding. Honestly, my 15 years of teaching, I did not learn what I had learned in 3 years of my Sun Department work. So I think I see things very differently now.
listen,
Um,
listen. I'm gonna
but
tell
those
you.
children are different as well, to be
I'm
honest.
gonna tell you that things about parenting, who a child becomes, yeah, it's greatly affected by how the relationship they have with their mother and the father. But it's not the whole deal, right? There's some people who had really traumatic situations and turned
Yeah.
out to be the greatest people ever,
No, no, I agree.
right?
And that's what I'm saying, that things would have been different, even like better, because I can see the potential in
But
those
we
kids, and
can't say
them
that.
working
Yeah,
so hard and doing
but
stuff
it
and
could,
getting stuff as well. It's
you know,
just they need some extra supports and time.
I
And I'm
think
like,
we
he,
want to believe that. I really think that we want to believe that, but we're a summation of our experiences, right? We're really I was watching something about John Legend and all the challenges he had coming up as a
yeah,
kid,
that's
you know, and his parents divorced when he was in, I think, ninth grade, and there was something in him that some people we're a summation of our experiences, and sometimes we could have had. Listen, Jeffrey Dahmer had amazing parents. He even said my parents were great. He turned out to be Jeffrey Dahmer. In fact, they stood with him even in court. They never turned their back on him, right? He was eating people when they didn't. He said I had great parents. He turned out to be a serial killer.
like, every
So
individual is
I
different.
was
That's the
I was
thing.
going to ask like that, don't you think that at some, I mean, like for those people who turn out to be successful, these kind of I would say the shortcomings of the parenthood or those kind of things can't be the kind of triggers that they make them to be a better person. What is this even? The writer is telling that he was like better or nicer or something for the reason he had divorced
It's
parents, he had this thing, he had this thing, he has this
yeah.
thing. So those kind of it really it in my understanding, it depends how you define those. How I would say it in one sentence is that it doesn't matter what happens to you, what do you do after what happens to you, that defines
How
you.
do you perceive things? Exactly my
well,
point.
So so not
I think we look at. Let me say
Some
it this.
people learn from it, some
Let me give
people,
you a
yeah.
generational. Let me give you a generational context, okay?
mhm.
Because we see things. You guys, you millennials and Zers, you guys got it great, right? Now the boomers and
Okay.
the silent generation, like my uncles, people used to tell me this is before not
But
even
those
my
were different
generation.
times. You can't
No,
compare those
but it's the point.
generations.
No, it's not about different
Let's listen
times
to his
because
point.
parenting is
Let's listen to
parenting.
his point. Yeah.
Parenting is parenting, whether it's in the 13th century or the 21st century. Parenting is parenting, right? There, if back in my parents' generation, which are baby boomers.
Mhm.
If a mother, let's say the father died or father left or whatever the case may be, once that boy, if she had a son or she had sons, once that boy turned 13, guess what the mother did? Most mothers would do. You got to go at 13, 14. And she would set him up, go with an uncle, go with the next door neighbor, go with somebody who worked as a longshoreman. But he had to go. And not only did he have to go, but the paycheck, he had to go and work. And the paycheck was going to who? That paycheck
No.
come to mama. Okay. Now, do we quantify that as bad parenting? Do we say that's a bad parenting? At 13, you say sometimes at 12. You send
Who
your kid
knows?
out.
We may not, but I know when my mother asked for some money out of my first summer job, I thought she was being so mean. I was like, "How could you want some of this little hundred
No, but
dollars,
she's
lady?
putting
How
you
you
into
want it?"
practical field. She's putting
Well,
you into
girls had to
practical
give up
field.
the money too, not just guys. The girls
Yeah.
didn't have to leave home, but if you brought some money into the household, you had to pay.
So my point, Hannah, is that this idea of parenting is a slippery slope. It's a very, very slippery
I
slope.
agree with you. And it keeps evolving and things keep changing. It's not only us as parents.
Rethinking.
The thing is that the society also shapes them. The schools, like especially public school, in America, in England, everywhere, things have been changed and massively changed. So much involvement of the government and the schools and the GPs and all those kind of things have shaped children differently. So
Okay.
it's not entirely or solely goes to parenting.
But don't
Exactly.
you
That's my
think that
point.
the
That's
social
why I
media,
said
the
we are
current social
summation
media, I
of
mean,
our experiences. That's
Mm-hmm.
why I said
yeah,
we are summation of our experiences. And believe it or not, by 7 years old, you start becoming an individual.
yeah, you
You start
are
becoming an
complete. Your
individual.
personality is complete. Your
Yeah.
personality by 7 years is complete. Just it's
Hmm.
smaller in size, the body is smaller in size, but your actual personality,
Yeah,
whatever
yeah.
you
At
are, you're
7, 8, you
stubborn,
may need protection. You may still need protection, but
yeah,
your mind, you're individual at 7 and 8. And
finish,
so,
finish.
so at 13, 14, especially if mama feeding you well, you got a little muscle on you, hit the road, Jack. Don't you come back no more, no more,
I
no more, no
disagree
more.
with that
Or
one
you
though.
could, or you could stay
Because I
home
have
and
seen
manipulate your
teenagers
parents
messed
too.
up, but then they realize that that's not life, and then they
All
pick
right.
it up from there and then they rebuild. And then you can't say that's their personality because they were careless at that time and then they become a responsible adult and a successful one. So
We are
aren't they
summation.
growing? Aren't they growing and
Let me
learning?
tell you. Let me tell you, my God, I'm gonna share this with you. My God sister, all right, my godparents, my godfather is an attorney. Okay, he retired from the Department of Agriculture as an attorney.
Excuse me, explain your godparents, please.
These are they're my self-appointed. Well, when my mother was murdered, they took care of me.
Oh,
Um,
nice. And so they became the real meaning of what I don't know if other cultures had that, but I know we have that in our culture. Grandparents, that was really important to people to have somebody to look out for your child that wasn't a relative. It could be a relative in most cases, but a lot of times it wasn't a relative to take
right.
care of your children if something happened to the parents. And that's why they were called godchildren. I know
Yeah.
Islam may not have it, but we called that. That's
Yeah.
all I wanted to.
In
No,
Islam, we
no,
don't
absolutely.
have, but in West, usually when we make a will, we do appoint someone like that in case something
Okay.
happens to us. Yeah. So naturally, it is like if the family is around, it has to be grandparents or like uncle or
But,
auntie. But if you don't
This
have family around, then you
but
can name someone else, like your close friend or someone. So
so,
that
godparents.
Depends. It
but
depends upon the
that's what I'm saying.
godparents is
the
it.
point that
It
I'm trying to
depends
make
upon the
is
relationship. Yeah.
here's the point I'm trying to make. My godfather, Dan O'Brien, is probably the nicest man I ever met in my life. Like, there's nothing you can do to rile this man. His wife was killed in a car accident 2 years ago. Like drunk driver. And I was expecting when I went to see him for his personality to change because I would think that would be a traumatic situation. Same nice man that I've always knew. Same temperament, right? Highly successful. Retired from the Department of Agriculture. Retired from the Attorney General's offices in the state of Maryland, principal counsel, right? Went on, did great things. All right, here's the point. He when I was home last summer, we were talking about my god sister, Tess, brother Brianna. And he was telling me, man, he said I spent about $70,000 a year cash money for her college degree. She went to some private school. And he said that she graduated like, and she didn't know what she was going to do in her life. And she's like, became like a hobo. Here's my point. And she actually turned it around a little bit later. But here's my point. My godmother, who was murdered, never nice person. I don't know how two extremely nice people got married. It's very rare. Like, I never heard them argue. They're just the nicest people in the world. But Brianna had a little spell where she wasn't the best. And she had you would say these
Best
two
parents.
were best parents.
Mhm.
Like the best, like ideal parents. Money, nice, kind, considerate, emotional intelligence, took them around the world, this and that, and put them in violin and never screamed at them and talked to them. And she still had a moment where it wasn't looking like it was going to work out for him, right? After he spent, a $500,000 on her education. That's the point. She had to figure out, even though she had these nice people who loved her, she had to figure out life for herself. She had to go and scramble for herself because she had such good parents, she wasn't a summation of her experiences. She needed that time to become a summation of her experience. And I'm pretty sure during that time, people were probably like, you must have had bad parents. You know what I mean? Like, where's your parents? And da 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 da. And that's
Why
what
you ain't
that's what I
use your
mean. That's what I
nepotism?
mean,
She
you know.
should have used her nepotism.
Right.
No, no, he's mentioning that the way she was behaving, the other people would predict that she might have had a very bad parents
Right.
or very
Exactly.
bad parenting.
Mhm.
Right. And sometimes it may be a point of disconnecting and wanting to establish your own identity.
Exactly.
Like you hear a lot of people, they be like, well, why you come up like take Barack and Michelle Obama's daughter and she want to be like in the film industry or something. And people be like, won't you just use your name? And she has a pseudonym that she uses, and she was like, I want to do this my own way.
Right. I want it myself. I want to do it myself.
Yes, yes, me. Go ahead.
The time has been well spent, and I think it's
Yes.
time to
Right.
say good night.
I was going to
'Cause
I was going
we
to
have
say just
gone
yeah,
way
a
off
little more
tangent.
than that. Yeah. I
Way
was
off
going to
we
say
on the
to
children now. We on
Hina,
the children. We done left
I
the we
was
done
I
left
was
the
just going
beginning.
to I was going to just say to Hina, this book basically, I was thinking that, okay, yeah, good point, good that you held us back with the thing. So this book is basically talking about rethinking of whatever we do. When we say, I do it, this is my way, or this is the highway, or this is the way I am brought up with, this is my ideology. So this book basically questions you and puts you in a difficult situation as like being in the mirror, mean that lets you rethink of your position, your point of view, your perception of the thing. So this is where it is the kind of little difficult to read. That's what I was saying.
So
But
we
it
got
is,
one chapter left on
yeah,
this
the
deal.
last part and the one chapter conclusion and the small things there.
Who's picking the book next? Who's up next? Oh, who's the Mimi? What's I can't think of her name.
Mara?
Tamara.
Tamara. That's her next. She's up next, right? All right.
Okay. So, Hina, you would have time to read or not read. For you, it's the first time read, probably. If you would have time, we still have the week and we have
Yeah.
very little to read. So you can
I'll
catch up
try,
if you
yeah,
want.
I'll try my best to
And even if
read
you
it.
just start with section 4, it's fine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
It's
that's a
not
good
like you
tip.
have to
Thanks.
read everything to understand. You could just start with section 4.
He
All
actually
right.
summarizes everything in the epilogue. He summarizes.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say, that probably in the last part he's going to summarize lots of things. But if you want to read, this is an enjoyable book in terms of changing yourself to be a better person. But it's a hard to read. It's hard to digest. As you remember in the first our first meeting, everybody's was, what is this? What? It's
Well,
not
it
my
depends.
taste.
If it's a good read, then it's not hard to digest for me. But it depends.
It's a
I'll
read.
give it a try. It's just you know how people have writer's block. I think I have a reader's block. I just keep bringing books, but not able to read them for some reason. I'm not sure. It's just my health, or I don't know, my
Well,
mind.
So
I tell you one thing, it was a major shift from Mad Honey. Mad Honey, this is a major shift.
yeah,
And
it's it
I'm
to
not
you would
saying
be.
don't read it.
It's a
I'm
different
just
genre.
saying for the sake of conversation next week, if you want to
Yeah.
Yeah,
start with
So
chapter
that's a good
4,
tip.
just to
Thanks,
yeah,
make
Jeff.
sure that's done and then go
yeah,
back and start from the
Yeah.
beginning, it'll still
yeah,
Yeah.
all make sense. It'll
yeah.
still be fine.
Oth- Otherwise, it's just like putting, if you really question yourself, it's just like putting you in a ring situation with a very kind of a heavyweight boxer and just punching at you every time.
All right.
Um. Well, you
All
don't
right,
know me, so I will let it go.
All
all
right.
right. Thank you so much.
All right. So
Thank
we'll see
you.
you
You
guys
Thank
next
you,
week.
guys.
everyone.
Yes,
Yeah,
Bye.
next
sir.
week
Bye.
Good
we'll
night.
have a
We'll see
conclusive
you.
book,
Bye.
and also we'll
Good
come up with a new
night.
book
All right.
night.
We gotta let Tamara know she needs to pick a book.
Yep.
Should have it. Yep.
Yep.
Yeah,
All
so
right.
by the next
All
week
right.
we
Good
will
night,
have this done.
guys.
See
Good
ya.
night.